Hey everyone, well I hope everyone's had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This video, I hope you enjoy it. It is something I've been waiting to do for a long time, and it's how to make jerky just in an everyday kitchen. You don't have to have a bunch of extra accessories. It doesn't have to be intimidating or overwhelming. I've had a lot of people reach out over the years like, how did you make jerky? This is really cool. This is just making jerky with an oven. It's awesome. Please check this out, like and subscribe. When I hit 1,000 subs, and I'm right there, I'm knocking on the door of 1,000 subs. When I hit that, I'm going to be doing a giveaway, a Bass Pro Cabela's gift card. Just trying to do something just to say thanks to anyone who's subscribing to the channel. And as it grows, hopefully I can do more cool things like that and continue to make content. So thanks for watching. Hit the like button, share this, subscribe to the channel, and let's go make some deer jerky. Alright, it's been a long time coming wanting to do this video. I've had different times where I thought I could do it. It's just never worked out, and finally, because of this awesome Christmas break, being able to have some free time, I've been able to put together this video. This is a how to make deer jerky video, how to make beef jerky, any kind of jerky video for the average person with no extra equipment. I mean, this is the most tried and true way. It makes good jerky, and it's so easy. It's a time-consuming process, true, but it is so easy, and anybody can do it if you just have an oven. This is something that I learned from my dad years ago. It may not be the most conventional method. It may not be the true method. This method makes good jerky, and you can do it right here at home. So I want you just to enjoy this, and this is not the only way in the world to make jerky. This is just the way old country boy with an oven who I don't have any extra space or time or money for dehydrators or anything at this time, and I've not needed it because this method has been working so effectively for me for years. First thing, this method works with a wet or a dry style, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. This method works regardless of what kind of oven you have. It might work a little better for certain types of models and different temperature settings, and we'll go through all that here in a minute. But generally speaking, if you've got an oven in your house, you can make you some good jerky. So before I zoom in closer, I just thought I'd sit kind of here. I want to just show you, okay, up here obviously I've got some meat marinated. I'm doing a wet style. We'll explain that later. Some skewers, we'll get to that. Most important thing, simply, makes sense, a catch. This is aluminum foil on the bottom rack. You got to have a 2-rack oven system. I will say that's one thing. Well, you don't have to, but if you had one rack and no catch, you would have a mess. And you can't put a pan on the bottom where the heating element is, obviously. So you need another rack. You need to have 2 racks for this setup. And then obviously I've got a little towel here, just to catch things. But this top rack needs to be moved up. There needs to be a good bit of separation here, depending on how long the strips of jerky are. I've done some backstrap pieces that long jerky before, where I had to have the top rack all the way at the top and the drip catch all the way at the bottom, and it was kind of tedious. I'd say the average, a general size of a piece of jerky, if you look at like 5 or 6 inches, that's plenty. And you can get by with doing the second or almost the highest level or second down. I like going about right here because I have room to come in from the top, but yet it's still high enough to be above the drip. So again, first rack is pretty high, second rack is pretty low with a drip catch. This is just aluminum foil. You could use a pan, whatever. It's going to be such a low temperature setting, nothing's going to burn or anything like that. So that's our first beginning instructions. Make sure this is high, this is low, this has a drip catch. That's first things first. All right, now come on over and we'll zoom in a little closer. All right, so first things first, I didn't think I needed to make a video of how to slice meat into thin strips. It's pretty self-explanatory. You could even, if you're making beef jerky, I'm sure you could even buy pre-sliced pieces. If you are taking your deer to a processing center, I'm sure if you asked, they would maybe for an extra fee, I don't know how that works, I'm sure they could slice some pieces of meat up for you. it doesn't matter where the meat comes from. It doesn't matter. You're looking for thin slices. There is no magic number on how thin or how thick. It's just simply the thinner it is, the faster this process will be. If it gets, and then the thicker it is, you know, it will be a more hearty piece. But eventually, if you get thick enough, you kind of get to where you're getting to a chewy jerky that's just not, it's not jerky at that point anymore. So ideally, if you take meat that is partially frozen, it stays intact while you're slicing, you can get a fine-tuned slice. If you have fully thawed meat, you better have a really sharp knife. I didn't have a very sharp knife, and the meat was kind of thawed a little. But basically what we're looking at here, I don't know how easy it is to tell. This is you know, I don't even know, less than a quarter of an inch. I mean, this is probably an eighth of an inch. But then, you know, you pick up this piece here. This piece is thin as sliced ham, you know, on a ham sandwich. It's okay. You can have a mix. You want them generally to be all the same size, but really, you know, it doesn't. I mean, you can have some thicker and thinner pieces. There's no, you know, have to do this or have to do that. It's more of a consistency thing. You'd like all your pieces to be about the same. I don't know how well the video picks that up, but all of these pieces are pretty much the same. The length, again, you can have these pieces as long as you want, as long as they're not touching the bottom drip pan. They need to be hovering, and you'll see how that goes. They need to be hovering the whole way through. Check this out. This is a wet marinade. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is just pieces from a leg, or from a shoulder rather, that I just trimmed. But check this out, little trial. This, my friends, is wet marinated pieces of heart. I'm making heart jerky. As a matter of fact, you can see where it's round. That's where I cut around the different chambers and stuff. I'm gonna make heart jerky. So you can use any kind of meat. It really, really does not matter. Obviously, venison and beef are gonna be like number one. So we've established the fact that they need to be thin, they need to be consistent, and as far as how much you make, it's trial and error. I have made too much before, and then I run out of room in the oven. I can't tell you a certain number or poundage. I don't really know. If you look at this is a standard 13 by 9 Pyrex, and if you kind of look at this amount, if you can tell, and this is going to fill up my oven pretty good. So I know that's kind of vague, but it is what it is. It's trial and error, and you may have a bigger oven or a smaller oven, and you have to adjust to your setup that you have. Now, real quick, really the most important thing to consider is this is a wet marinated jerky, and I mean that by, okay, these have been thinly sliced and then placed in this pan, and this particular drippings, this wet marinade, this particular wet marinade is not homemade. Now, this is ALLEGRO, okay? If you've ever tried ALLEGRO is incredible. That's all I can say for ALLEGRO. ALLEGRO is, they've expanded their lineup. I mean, if I can remember it, it was one or two or three. Well, there's a ton of different ALLEGROs. This is ALLEGRO original. This is not watered down, cut in half. This is straight ALLEGRO, and it is going to soak in, and it's going to produce a pretty salty jerky. You can cut this stuff down. You can add brown sugar to it to sweeten it up. You can add any kind of pepper or any kind of salt, pepper, powders, things like that. But what you would want to do there is you would want to pull, you don't want to add it into the liquid because it's just going to dissolve away. You might pull the jerky out, lay it on a plate, and then sprinkle. I really like sprinkling some black pepper on the pieces of jerky themselves, and then when they go in the oven, they come out and they have those crispy pieces of black pepper still embedded on them. When I first started this, I actually would make, following a recipe my father had, I would make a homemade, really it had Dale's seasoning sauce, if you're familiar with Dale's. Probably a little, it might have had a little Worcestershire, but it definitely had some Dale's, definitely had brown sugar, definitely had liquid smoke, definitely had herbs and spices, and I don't even remember the exact recipe, and I tweaked it. I literally have made so many different types just using a base wet marinade. But I've just settled on ALLEGRO. It's so convenient. It's in the stores. It's all I got to do is just dump it, and then you're looking at a 24-hour minimum on this stuff. You do not have to do it this way. Rest assured. You can do, and I wish I would have made a video, you can do a dry jerky. You can cut your jerky like this, and you can take, I've even done in the past, my favorite rib rub. Take a rib rub, don't pack it on tight, but sprinkle it, kind of just let it cover all the pieces of the meat. You can do a dry jerky with the same method here that I'm using, with like a rib rub or a pre-made jerky powder. You do not have to wet marinate these things. I just love it. This is the way I'm going to do it. So when that's all said and done, if you can take and have some thin sliced strips of meat and get it any kind of way you want to try, again, I highly recommend the ALLEGRO. And with the ALLEGRO, you can add a little brown sugar or a little pepper or a little this, a little that. You can tweak the ALLEGRO, but the ALLEGRO makes a fine base. When all that's said and done, you have either your wet marinated pieces of meat, or you have your dry, sprinkled, with a rib rub or any kind of jerky spice. When you have that meat and you're ready to go, the next step is toothpicks or skewers. Now, toothpicks are really handy. I actually like toothpicks better. I bought these a while back, and I just don't want them to go to waste. So, all right, let me make one more quick recommendation. The high rack is here, the low rack is here. I'm going to be skewering jerky across this, and then I'm going to be laying it in here. This is no good. It'll get really annoying really fast. Because you have the drip pan, go ahead and slide both racks out. Instead of reaching in the oven, you can just reach from the top. When they're all in here, if you just gently slide it, none of the jerky's gonna fall. Makes it a whole lot easier. So just go ahead and pull your drip and your top racks out simultaneously, and then prepare to string the jerky, and we'll go from there. At this point in time, the oven is off. We have not done anything with the oven at this point in time. Keep that in mind. Everything's off, nothing's hot. We're working safely, and we're getting ready to string up the jerky on skewers or toothpicks. Alright, I brought my pan of meat down here. I kind of got low, so I want to give you a good view of this. I put the pan down here. Remember, the rack's pulled out. Watch how simple and easy this is. Again, toothpicks or skewers. You just take a piece of meat, alright, and just obviously you don't want it in the middle because it needs to hang. You don't want it, you don't want it folding over. So grab one end, doesn't matter, one end of the piece of meat. There it's hanging. And then, because these are skewers, we're obviously going to have to force it all the way to the end to make room for the next few. Alright? This is the only tedious process to this whole thing. Again, toothpicks are easier, skewers can hold more. Do whatever it is you want to do, and then I've got a few more tips and tricks. You can just enjoy me doing this at a little faster speed, and then I'll catch back up with you in a second. Alright guys, tell me that is not beautiful right there. I mean, that is the ticket for sure. What you want to make sure, there's just a few rules to follow, okay? Before sliding this gently back, go ahead and look at each piece. Make sure that the pieces can touch the rack a little. Ideally, every piece is hanging free, but you don't want pieces touching each other. They will stick together, and then it'll cause a thickness, and it'll be underdone in the middle of that. It's just a pain. So just go through. You might have to just run through and kind of push some, whatever. Just look through, make sure all the pieces are hanging freely. Again, they could touch the racks a little. Ideally, they would all be hanging free of touching anything except the one point where they're hanging from on the skewer. Once you've established that fact, just very carefully slide both racks back simultaneously so the drips don't spill. It's in there. Now, most important thing, get yourself a wooden spoon, really of any kind. Let me show you what I use. just a standard wooden spoon. No metal, no plastic. Definitely no plastic, just in case. But just a wooden spoon. You're going to take that oven. You want to put that wooden spoon somewhere, maybe even the side, but generally speaking, I just go to this right side corner and close it on that wooden spoon. It will stay there. It's not going anywhere. This is not a super dangerous thing. It literally, if the spoon comes out, the oven will close and the jerky will just be overdone. So you've got to crack this door with the wooden spoon, and it's going to promote airflow. So what are we doing up here? We're turning the oven to the lowest possible setting, okay? This is where, like I was saying, different styles, different appliances could change the way, really it's just the speed at which this takes. That's the thing about jerky, you guys. It's just variables. It's just, you know, this thickness of meat. You know, what's the thickness of the meat? Is it a wet or a dry? Is it an oven that's going to be at 170 or 190? That's what I love about it. You end up making it your very own. So you might know in your house that jerky this size takes this many hours in my oven, and that's what I love about this. So in my world, with the size of the jerky that I've got, and then when I go up to my oven, I'm going to go to the lowest setting, all the way down. The lowest setting on mine is 170 degrees. It's preheating now. This is cracked with a wooden spoon. See that? Just a little bit of airflow able to come through here. If you look down in here, oh man, tell me that's not a beautiful sight. Now it's time for the easiest part. Wait and have a little common sense. All you're going to do, generally I could just throw a number out there and say 6 hours. And I've had batches of jerky done in 4.5 with a little warmer oven and very thin pieces. Most of my jerky, generally in the years past, I've been doing this for a long time, has been in the 6 to 8 hour range. I'll come back here in a couple hours. I'll show you guys. I'll open it. You can open it up. You're not affecting anything. You can even reach in and the jerky's it's really not even hot enough to burn you. It's not really cooking. It is drying it out. It's dehydrating it. It's making real jerky. But I'll show you, if I can zoom in with the camera, hopefully what a rubbery, kind of underdone, not ready piece looks like. And then I'll try to get footage immediately as it's coming done. That's kind of the beginning stages. Stay tuned. We'll come back in here in about 5-6 hours and see if we can't pull us out some amazing deer jerky right here at home in the oven. No extras needed. Just a little time, a little patience, and we'll see what we get in a few hours. Stay tuned. Alright everyone, what's going on? So, actually getting ready to go do a little hunting, a little late season. Wanted to go ahead and give you a 4-hour check, just to give you an example of what I was talking about earlier. We're just going to move this wooden spoon. I'm doing this one-handed. I got the camera in my other hand. Just going to give you a general example, okay? This is the 4-hour mark. You can kind of pull. You can pick up a whole strand if you want. Okay, it's obviously gotten very dark in color. But come here if you notice. I don't know how well you'll be able to tell. Look at that flexibility. See that? Now these are thicker pieces. It's wanting to split here, but it's not ready. It's too gelatin-like. The thicker. Now, if I was to look in and find one real thin piece, there's a good chance that it could be done. For instance, this little tiny one over here at the 4-hour mark, this is actually probably done. Go to break it and look, it starts peeling apart, and that's exactly what I was talking about. There's that fibrous peeling. So that piece right there, that piece was done. So some of those thinnest pieces, oh, that ALLEGRO is incredible. But notice, you do not want that gelatin, that stretch. You want that thin breakage. The way this is looking, this is probably a 5 or 6 hour batch. Pretty awesome. This is that point now where it needs to be monitored more consistently. So you can keep an eye on this and see what it does. Alright everyone, so it's been about 8 hours. That's what it ended up taking. That first small piece was done right about the 4.5, 5 hour range, but a lot of those pieces I had were thicker. So we're going to open this up and check it out. The oven is off, everything's cut off. It's still pretty warm, but come in here. At this point, you can just break them off any old way that you choose. And there's that break, just like I was saying. And then you've got that fibrous material. Pulls apart, it's not chewy. These are actually pieces of that heart. And it's just perfect. I mean, it is perfect deer jerky. Just like that. So, again, it's all about the technique you want to use, your oven, the size of the meat. When it's all said and done, you will develop your own system. But I can tell you right now, this system's working. So, thanks for watching. Be on the lookout for more videos coming up. And I'm going to go enjoy some jerky.